Have you ever considered attending a photography workshop, but you're not sure if it's worth the time or the money? Well, today I'll walk through the pros and cons of attending workshops and let you know whether I think it's a good investment or not. Hey everyone, my name is Ben Reeder, and today I'm going to walk through the pros and cons of attending photography workshops and let you know some of the benefits, reasons why you might want to do it, and some of the downsides, reasons why you might not want to attend a workshop. I recently attended a 3-day workshop in Mid-Coast, Maine. First time I've ever gone to a photography workshop. I'll show you actually on the map kind of where it was. So if you look over here, we've got Freeport, Maine, just a little bit north of Portland. So for those of you who are familiar with Maine, you'll know this area here is just a bunch of peninsulas filled with lobster villages and all kinds of harbors and just different nooks and crannies and shorelines. So it was a really picturesque area to take photos. So we jumped around from Harpswell over to Popham Beach area. We were in Georgetown. So just a lot of different areas that they took us through. It was 2 instructors. We had 10 students total attending the workshop, and then it was a Thursday night through a Sunday morning. Pretty much everything that we went to was within about an hour drive, so sometimes it takes a while to get from just one peninsula up and around to the other one, so we kind of hopped from spot to spot throughout the day. We were up really early for sunrise each day, so I will show you a photo of one of the sunrise shots we took. This here is an image I took on the last morning of the workshop at Pemmican Point Lighthouse. You can see a pretty rocky coastline. There was actually quite a few other photographers there, but we got there bright and early. I think I was there by about 4:30 in the morning, so we could get the sunrise in time. So it was long days from about 4:30 in the morning until sunset at 8:30 at night. So very long days, a lot packed into it, but overall I really enjoyed the experience. So when you're looking at workshops and considering your options, there's a lot of different ways that they can organize these. So the workshop I went to was kind of a medium-sized group, so about a 5-to-1 ratio for students to instructors. You can have larger groups, you can have smaller groups. Some people even just do kind of one-on-one photography workshops, which obviously you're going to get a lot of attention in those scenarios. Some workshops you might attend can be local. So for me, this was about a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive up to Maine. But there's obviously workshops all over the country, all over the world. People will fly from the East Coast to the West Coast. People will fly to Iceland. That's a very popular spot for people to go and take photos. So you've got a lot of different options out there as far as kind of quick and easy 1-day, 2-day trips, all the way up to multiple, a week or more as far as your travel goes. So as I reflected on my time at this workshop, I came up with 5 different reasons why I think you would want to attend one of these workshops. So I'll walk you through those 5 different reasons. And the first one is to really just meet other photographers. Something that I, having gone out and taken pictures on my own quite a bit, you're often doing it alone. So it was actually kind of a nice experience to go out with a group of people, and not only when you're taking the pictures, but then also afterwards talking about things, just kind of chatting about photography while we're having lunch. And it's not something that I've had a chance to really do in my personal life very often. So that experience, just kind of connecting with other photographers, other like-minded people, was definitely one of the things that I enjoyed about going on this trip. The second benefit of going to a workshop is just to learn from others. So obviously you're going to learn from the instructor, that's part of why they're there, but you're also going to learn just from working with other photographers, seeing how they set up, seeing how they use their tripod, when are they using handheld, what kind of techniques are they using, even just seeing other cameras. There's a lot of information that you can absorb from just being around other people that are taking pictures all throughout the day. Some of the specific things that you'll see in these workshops, some people might be kind of beginners, and so they're really focusing on just kind of understanding how to use their camera, all the basic settings. Others might be focused on trying to improve composition. So one of the things that I picked up on from the instructor is just using kind of like micro adjustments to fine tune the corners of your picture frames when you're setting up a composition. So I'll show you an example of that. So here's a photo I set up and took as the sun was setting kind of behind us. The sky got all pink and the clouds were really nice up in this area. So I set up to try and capture these boats and then the pink sky. Now this shot came out okay, but then as I was adjusting and took the next shot, you can see that the boat here kind of clipped the frame, which I didn't notice that it had drifted over. So one of the instructors kind of pointed out, like, hey, when you're setting up these shots, make sure you're focusing on the edges of your frame and paying attention to those changes. So, I've got this little clipping boat here compared to this initial shot that I took where it actually has some space over here on the edges, which looks much better. So the third thing that you'll really gain from this workshop is just the volume of pictures that you're taking. You're out there shooting pretty much all day. You got some time in between to have meals and take a break. We did a couple of sessions where we would kind of review photos, but all throughout the day, I was out shooting pictures, and I never get a chance to take that many photos and use my camera that much in such a short period of time. So I'm used to going out for maybe an hour or two, taking some pictures, and then maybe a few days later or a week later, I might go out again. So to have all this time concentrated on using my camera and taking pictures was really a huge opportunity for me to just learn and grow. The fourth thing that's really cool about going to these workshops is you're with somebody, theoretically, who knows this area and can guide you around and knows the different spots. So it's kind of reading the weather. It's looking at making decisions on the fly. What's the best spot to go to next? So there's some flexibility in where we're going, and having someone who's an expert in that region and knows all those little spots that we can stop and get pictures is stuff that I never would have done on my own. Even kind of scouring through the internet and looking through Instagram and trying to find locations, for me to piece all that together would have been a whole lot of work, and so it was great to have someone that could do that for us. And then the fifth and kind of final benefit of this is just the kind of inspiration that it kicks off for you. So it really lights a fire when you're out taking all these pictures and seeing all this beautiful scenery and interacting with people who really love photography. I came home just buzzing from the few days of doing it, excited to go back out and take more pictures. And anyone who's done photography knows that you kind of have ups and downs, and you've got lulls where maybe you're not quite as motivated or inspired. So it's really nice to have this kind of chance to get out there and focus on photography and really light that fire moving forward. Now, when it comes to considerations, things that you want to think about before you make a decision to sign up for a workshop, it's really going to come down to budget. That's a big factor for most people. So there's going to be a cost associated with it. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is going to fit within your own personal finances. And that's going to be different from person to person. You want to keep in mind that different workshops might cover certain expenses like accommodations or travel, others might not. So for me, for this workshop, I was covering my own meals and accommodations and travel, and then the fee kind of covered the workshop itself. So different workshops have different rules, so make sure that you look into that if you're kind of considering your options. Do the research and make sure that the workshop is reputable. Look for online reviews, find out who the instructors are, and kind of do some research on them and what their work looks like. It's just important that you feel comfortable before making that investment to go forward with a workshop. Also consider your skill level. Some workshops are more focused on beginners, some are more focused on more advanced topics, and then there's others that kind of cross over and really kind of a range of photographers can attend and have a good experience. So again, look into those details and kind of match that up with your skill level to make sure that you're attending something that's going to be the right fit for you. One other thing to think about is just the physical demands of going on a photo workshop. So climbing around on different things, depending on the region you're in, you may have to really do some kind of climbing, walking, moving around in places that are a little more dangerous. So just make sure you're comfortable with that. Here's an example of a photo I took in a location that was slightly treacherous. Anyone who's been to Pemaquid Point Lighthouse knows that it's right on the coast, lots of slippery rocks. This is actually from the same place in the first sunrise photo that I showed at the beginning of the video. So in this spot, there's all these puddles around, and I wanted to climb into a spot so I can get this reflection. So I'm, first of all the rocks are extremely slippery from the surf kind of crashing up and just the moisture that coming in early in the morning. And then also I'm laying kind of hanging off of a rock, holding my camera over this big huge puddle. So it's just something to keep in mind to get some of these shots. You're gonna have to be climbing around in rocks, going up maybe steep inclines. So it's always important just to be aware of that and make sure that you're comfortable with whatever those physical demands are gonna be. All right, so before I get into some reasons why you might not want to attend a workshop, if you've found value in this video, if you've liked it so far, please give it a like. I would really appreciate it, and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this. Reasons not to attend a workshop. So it really comes down to a couple of factors. One is money, and two is the social aspect. So this is going to be really different from person to person. One thing to consider is you could just take the money that you spent on the workshop and travel on your own and go to the different locations. And that might work better for some people. For me personally, as I mentioned earlier, I really enjoyed having someone guide me through this area. I wasn't familiar with it, and I definitely got to see some spots that I probably wouldn't have found on my own. But again, money's going to be different from person to person, so that's always going to be a personal choice. As for the social aspect, it almost feels like you're kind of going on a little cruise, right? So you're going with a group from location to location. You all get out and you take pictures for a little while, then you all kind of gather back up and you know, either caravan together, or maybe some places might, some workshops might provide transportation. In this situation, we were kind of caravanning in our own vehicles. So you're going from location to location. So you're not really making the decisions how long you're staying in places. It probably depends on the instructor how much flexibility there is with that. But if you're somebody who really likes to decide your own schedule, if following someone else's schedule and following around with a group of people is going to be problematic for you, that's just something for you to keep in mind. Also, when you're in a group, if you are in a kind of medium to large size group, you're not going to get maybe quite as much attention as you might want otherwise. So maybe consider a one-on-one or a much smaller group if that's going to be an issue for you. But ultimately, you're going to be with a group of people for the majority of the workshop. So again, if that social aspect is something that kind of rubs you the wrong way, then keep that in mind, and it might not be the best fit if you're not going to want to go around and take pictures with a group of people. But that's really it for the downsides. I mean, overall, my experience, and again, this is the first time I've gone on one, but it was just an amazing experience. I took so many photos. I took over 1,300 pictures in just a few days, which is way more than I would normally take in that span. I just kind of glancing through, I probably got at least 100, 150 that I really want to go in and do a cleanup and an edit and have those to be kind of presentable. So I've got a lot of really great photos. I'll actually show you a couple of my favorites real quick. So this is a really cool shot that I took of this gentleman in his boat early in the morning, heading out to get into his larger boat to go out, I assume fishing, lobstering for the day. And I just loved the kind of coming out of the darkness, moving towards the light of the morning, and the guy just kind of standing up in his boat like he's probably done this a million times, and the way it all kind of came together. I just thought this was a very Maine moment, and so I like this photo quite a bit. This is a shot of a lobster shack that's kind of iconic in this area. It's often photographed, and so I tried to find an angle where it was a little bit different from the normal shots you took, so I found a spot kind of peeking through a bunch of tree branches. There was just enough of an opening where they kind of framed the shot, which I thought looked pretty cool. But again, just this picturesque, amazing little location to take a picture. Here's one where we were at sunset down at this point, and the sun was just above the horizon setting, and I kind of got in this angle where I got the sun just clipping the back sail of this boat, cutting it in half, which I thought looked really cool. So the wind was whipping, the sky was on fire. It was just a really cool moment, and I got kind of a neat shot here that I was pretty proud of. So again, one of the things I liked the most from this was just connecting with the other photographers. I feel like I've got people that I now have other photographer friends that I can stay connected with, follow their work, continue to learn from them, keeping in touch hopefully with the instructors themselves. So I really enjoyed the social part of it. I enjoyed getting out and taking the pictures. I enjoyed eating a lot of lobster and ice cream and just, kind of going from spot to spot. It was really like almost a mini vacation, and I got to take pictures all day. So it was pretty awesome. I highly recommend it if it fits into your budget. If you're okay with going with a group, I definitely would say give it a shot if you're on the fence. I would love to know if you've been to a workshop before. Leave a comment down below if you have been to a workshop, where it was, what your thoughts were. I would love feedback from people to get their thoughts. So definitely leave a comment down below. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.